time for the Backwoods and the sponsorship of Garland Tire. By the way, I want to thank the Irwin Paint and Body for their sponsorship of Unicoi County Sports. Our next broadcast of Unicoi County Sports basketball, both the girls and boys, male and female, will be at Cloudland on the 19th of this month. I'll be up in Roan Mountain calling those games. Now, let's talk about what fall... I haven't done it in a couple of weeks, and I do apologize, but with all the coaching news and all this and the discussion, just, wasn't a whole lot of time to do it. But these are the ball games that you will be see. They have just come out, and so here we go. The doubleheader, of course. Let's get out tomorrow. It's the Super Derby, maybe. Yeah, Broncos and Colts Super Derby. Okay, not a thriller. That's the ball game that's going to be on NBC. There is a game, believe it or not, Saturday night. I don't know if you are aware. NFL Network. Bears at the Lions. Some playoff possibilities there with the Lions. There's also a ball game Saturday night on the NFL Network. They've got a doubleheader. Chargers at Kansas City. That could be for the AFC West. But as I said before, there are really only three teams, I think, in the AFC this year. I know Titans fans are going to be disappointed because I'm not going to include them, but I think there are three teams in the AFC that really say that's a team that's a Super Bowl contender. Whereas in the NFC, you look at it and you say, yeah, there are now 7 and maybe even 8 teams with Aaron Rodgers coming back. I mean, you still have the Cowboys, and I realize that their aura is like from 1973, but you've got a circumstance with them where you say, well, when Zeke Elliott comes back, and if I can, continue to win, find a way in at 10-6, that sort of thing, it's not Carson Wentz quarterbacking the Eagles. I could not think of that man's name last night. I could not think of his name. It's Nick Folk, so it's alive again. Anyway, here are the ball games that you will see on Sunday. Told you a lot of special games. But anyway, locally, team I said, watch out for them. Start of the year, they're in first place in their division. Although they haven't defeated too many good teams. I'm talking about the New York Jets and the New Orleans Saints. Talking about the Saints. Saints will be on TV in the area. So Drew Brees and company taking on the Jets. That'll be the AFC game on CBS on Fox. Locally, you will see, this isn't a surprise, Green Bay at Carolina. Obviously, Carolina Panthers, kind of the team that gets usually but it is the return of Aaron Rodgers. So that's big. No surprise on Sunday. It'll be New England and Pittsburgh, or will it? Or will it? Oh, no. Oh, no. You don't think that they would... No, they wouldn't do this. Remember, and we'll keep track of this, a couple of weeks ago, originally this market was slated to receive the Washington Redskins game on Fox when they could have shown the Tennessee Titans instead. Now I said, look at this. It's like the old days when the Redskins, every game on WJHL was shown by the Redskins back in the old days. Which I always thought was a little bit interesting because, frankly, it really goes back to the old days of before, expansion and movement in pro sports when you had the Redskins, down in Tennessee. Anyway, it used to be the Redskins. I mean, for that matter, WBT in Charlotte was a Redskins affiliate for years and years. But the game of the week in pro football, New England and Pittsburgh. Come on. That's the game of the week. And I think some people have said that Pittsburgh can clinch the home field advantage if they win that. I'm not so sure about that because, frankly, I think that if Jacksonville wins out and then the Steelers would lose their last 2, you could be in a circumstance, especially if New England lost another game, where if there was a 2-way tie with Jacksonville and the Steelers at 12-4, this isn't really going to happen. I mean, the Steelers aren't going to lose the last game of the year to the Browns, okay? But if by some chance they play the games for obvious reasons, this where there would be that chance that the Jaguars could actually get the first seed in the playoffs. But it's really unlikely. So, 1% chance. Somebody at 538, I'm sure, would have the actual percentage. But here's what I'm getting to. That's the game to watch, New England and Pittsburgh. I've said all along, I don't think there are that many Titans fans around in the Tri-Cities. I might make an argument in our listenership, because we do get into North Carolina, there are more Panthers fans than there are Titans fans in this market. I might make that argument. It's debatable. Obviously, I think as you got further and further away from North Carolina, that wouldn't have been. But once you cross the border, the Panthers are the team in North Carolina for, obviously. But right now, the Tri-Cities, and certainly Southwest Virginia and the Carolinas, they're all slated to get New England and Pittsburgh. You don't suppose that they would, in the future, say, hey, you know what? Titans territory, that's the Tri-Cities. And then have us see instead, because it's the backup game, it's the game they get in San Francisco, and it's the game they get in Nashville, and not a whole lot of other places. You don't think they'd put Tennessee and San Francisco in our market, do you? You don't think they'd do that? You don't think that they'd be giving us Jimmy Garoppolo over Tom Brady, do you? You don't think they'd be doing it? You don't think they'd be giving us AFC Championship game preview, in all likelihood, flubbed for two teams that likely won't make the playoffs, and the 49ers obviously won't. Titans still could do it. You don't think they'd do that? Oh, God. Oh, no. This is one of the reasons. Talk about team. What team should move to London? I'm sorry. I don't want any team to move. I don't want the Titans to move from Nashville, but it is one of the most anonymous franchises in the NFL. They're not the team of Southwest Virginia. They're not the team of North Carolina. And in most of the border counties on the North Carolina-Tennessee border, Unicoi, Carter, Johnson, they root for the Cowboys. My goodness. Are we really going to... Please stay. The rare game locally that with the Titans that won't be seen. Please. Steelers and Patriots. The Titans are 300 miles away, folks. Pittsburgh is 400 miles. It's not that big of a difference. You go to some parts of the Southwest Virginia, it is closer in this TV market to Pittsburgh than it is Nashville. Please! That's the game we want to see. Steelers, Patriots. And if we don't, there are going to be a whole lot of sports bars making a whole lot of money in the Tri-Cities this weekend. By the way, if sports bars want to make a lot of money, they ought to sponsor this show. I don't think there's any question about that. By the way, follow up on the story about the cheering in the press box there. Now, the Golden Knights have apologized for tweeting out they did delete. You know what? And because I guess the writers in Nashville got upset. And, we'd never do that. You'd never do that. Do you see how sports in this area are covered? Really? You don't think they'd be cheering in the press? Really? The idea is that they clapped after a Predators goal. I have, by the way, been in a press box with Nashville media, and I don't think this is really cheering, but it was a Titans game. This is back when Steve McNair was quarterbacking, and I remember one of the Nashville media commented on a play that he had made and just said, amazing. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. However, it did come to mind that I said, you know what? I don't know how many times I've been in a press box and heard a comment even that strong regarding the team that the reporter was covering. Like I said, I remember one time, and Virginia Tech fans, I remember one time Pitt beating Virginia Tech. I was in the press box at Heinz Field, and the coaches adjacent to the press box, they let out a whelp when the winning touchdown was scored in the game's final minute. They started running through the press box and all that. The coaches later came back to us to apologize for their unprofessionalism. I don't really have they're coaches. They're not the media, okay? I don't have a problem with that, but it was the idea that they may have interrupted us. That's a lot of respect for the media. That's an awful lot. And I thank you. I mean, that is just great in all this. Meanwhile, speaking of also media, I guess, this is what I talk about in terms of overly supportive media and such. Remember, let's see, Kirk Herbstreit, this is old, but remember Rashad Golden giving the finger to the fans after the pick six he had against Alabama this year, Tennessee cornerback? Well, Kirk Herbstreit had called him out for this, and then Golden pointed out a time, I guess, where Herbstreit, it's at a double standard or so, and what can I tell you? The idea was, let's see here, with everything that's been going on at Tennessee, that guy probably will never play again, is what Herbstreit said of Golden after, the next series on defense is on the field, number 7 is in the lineup, playing again, and you wonder why Tennessee has issues. They don't have any discipline. This isn't anything that Juwan Jennings hasn't said. Anyway, the idea of the double standard was that Kirk Herbstreit, who criticized Golden, sent a tweet saying Baker Mayfield, the Heisman winner, grabbed his crotch, yelled at Kansas. He was misunderstood. This is where I go into where we have sort of the Homer media in Tennessee. Who cares what Kirk Herbstreit says about Baker Mayfield and the I mean, no, Golden shouldn't have given the finger to the Alabama fans. Come on. That made Tennessee look absolutely Bush League. It did make them look undisciplined, and you're trying to pin this off and shoot a messenger in Kirk Herbstreit? Yes, I do understand the commentary is inconsistent. But that's not what it's going on here. They're trying to actually pass the buck here. Golden tweeted out, I should be kicked off the team and eat popcorn, and I don't have a chip on my shoulder, but I'm not competitive. Used to have a lot of respect for you, Herbstreit. Why does Golden care what Herbstreit is saying about him? Of course, I could start saying some of the things that I've gotten into some Twitter wars and message board battles in my time as well, so you can say that I'm executing a double standard or so. But here's the deal. Golden shouldn't have given the finger to Alabama a while back. Mayfield, no. He should not have given the crotch and all that. But you know what? There's also, here's Baker Mayfield. Here is Rashard Golden. I'm putting my hand on Facebook Live. Mayfield is the Heisman Trophy winner. Golden is, who's that again? Sometimes you do have different criteria for the stars. And while I don't think that Baker Mayfield should be allowed to vulgarly call out the Kansas Jayhawks, neither should Golden. See, the point that I'm making here is that it's almost like, not like, and yeah, Herbstreit, maybe there is some idea, but again, Mayfield's up here, Golden's down here. It's like you're trying to absolve Golden through Herbstreit. That's my problem. The other thing I'll point this out. I've been hearing a lot of talk. There's been talk that I guess T. Martin came out and said that, I don't have the soundbite with me, but he gave a comment to a reporter out in L.A. That, yeah, he did talk to Tennessee about the coaching job, but he didn't want to come to Tennessee to be the offensive coordinator. This, again, and now they're bashing T. Martin for this. This, again, is Homer media. Did you notice what Lane Kiffin did? Yeah, it would be a step down for an offensive coordinator to go from Southern California to Tennessee. Tennessee isn't even hierarchy in the upper half of the SEC anymore. Southern California might be the program to go to if you want to be an NFL player. I certainly think that before the Rams and Chargers moved to LA, they were. Just the way that they ran their program was much like, from the notes to the media to all this, like an NFL program. And if you wanted to be going to NFL number 101, if that was the course you wanted to take, Southern California was a place to go to. Now I think with some of the media attention going away from the Trojans and now more to the Rams and the Chargers, because you got to have some focus on them as well, there's less of that. But I just want to mention that, it's, like I said, you're telling, why doesn't T. Martin want to take a step down? Look, you wouldn't get on Steve Forbes for not wanting to go back to his NAIA Central Arkansas, or is it Southern Arkansas? I don't even remember. But that school, for me to take their head coaching position from ETSU, would you? That would be a step down in the hierarchy. I think it's absolutely absurd to blame T. Martin for not. Why didn't he want to come back home? Don't give me the idea that his, wife, wants to be the recording star. She's had records. That's happened. You can do that, by the way. You can fly in from Knoxville. We're a wired world. There's such a thing as Skype. You've got studios here. It's not that big of a deal. There are things called airplanes. However, fact of the matter is, Southern California, yeah, they're the Pac-12 champion. They're a national power. They're in consideration to win national championships, and Tennessee is 4-8 and a rebuilding project. That's why he doesn't want to go back for anything less than the head coaching job, nor should he. Nor should he. Not if he wants his career to go forward. No need to riot, but we learned this 8 years ago. Yeah, Southern California is the place where coaches want to be over Tennessee. And if you don't believe me, then why not only did Lane Kiffin leave, but why is Tennessee 0-4 a lifetime against the Trojans? Not even the 39 team could beat Southern California. Tri-City Sports Now.
Destination Tires take you anywhere you want to.